Hello, you are watching news from Kazakhstan. I am Nurbek Savitakhunov. These are the headlines. Former mayor of Zhanaozen, Zhalgaz Babakhanov, gets a 2-year suspended sentence. The court found him guilty of abuse of office and released him in the courtroom. Shareholders attempted to meet with Deputy Prime Minister Serik Akhmetov. Astana residents have been trying to persuade the government to cancel the regulation allowing 1 apartment per owner. In Hazrat Sultan, the Metropolitan Mosque, a traditional prayer in honor of the holy month of Ramadan began with praise of President Nursultan Nazarbayev. The former mayor of Zhanaozen, Zhalgaz Babakhanov, received a 2-year suspended sentence on Friday. He was found guilty of abuse of office and was disallowed to hold public office for 3 years. The ex-mayor was released from the custody in the courtroom.
According to the investigation, while serving as town administrator, Zhalgaz Babakhanov mishandled the money of the Zhanashir fund, allocating it to businessmen buying property for local staff, purchasing cars, and paying for apartment renovations. According to the prosecutor's office, Zhanaozen mayors Zhalgaz Babakhanov and Orak Sarbapeyev have been embezzling funds of Zhanashir and Zharil Kao public foundations for several years. Both were arrested following the unrest in Zhanaozen, with Orak Sarbapeyev acquitted on June 22nd.
Relatives of those who died in Zhanaozen and were sentenced in Shetpe claim all convictions are made on order from above to destroy all dissenters. It is almost impossible to fully convey the anger and emotions of people whose relatives suffered on December 17th at the Shetpe station for daring to ask the authorities to withdraw troops, restore communication, and tell the truth about Zhanaozen. The appeal board upheld the initial court verdict on the case of Shetpe riots, even excluding the confiscation of property clause from the ruling.
The verdict of the Aktau City Court announced on May 23, 2012 remains unchanged for Bakhadjanov Gabidin, Abenov Hajimurat, Mambetov Yerzhan, Saburbayev Nurbalat, Jakilshiyev Akilbek, Sadegulov Duysembek, Tuleyev Asılbek, Toleov Kuanysh, Durispayev Yesenkaza, and Adiyev Asana. The appeals committee of the Mangistau Regional Court did not overrule the previous decision of the case over Shetpe station unrests. People were looking forward to a positive resolution, but after the announcement of the ruling, all such hopes have vanished completely. I don't understand what's going on here. It seems like 1917 or 1937 all over again, with political repressions and everything. The families of convicted Shetpe village residents understood that the verdict would remain the same when they noticed judges acting very relaxed during the session. Judge Bisimbiev was constantly distracted while the prosecutor chose to play video games. The court didn't pay attention to us and the judge kept looking to the other way while the prosecutor was playing video games. Not a single claim was considered by the court. Nothing changed. Lawyers of convicted Shetpe village residents came up with sound arguments supporting their client's innocence. For instance, Kazimurat Avezov, sentenced to 7 years for the organization of unrest at the Shetpe station, is nowhere to be seen in the submitted video evidence. A 10-year-old picture served as proof for special forces to identify Nurbalat Saburbayev in the crowd at the Shetpe village square, although Saburbayev was just 15 when the picture was taken. But these and other arguments were ignored by the judge and all objections were overruled without explanation. These men went on the protest for justice and in support of other people. They could have stayed at home, but they went out and demanded to cease unlawful actions and bloodshed to avoid casualties that could turn kids into orphans and wives into widows. They wanted peace and security in the country, and that's why they took the step for which they were convicted. We're so disappointed because we can't find any support in such a tough time. There's no justice and fairness in this country. We all have no rights on this land thanks to Nazarbayev, who doesn't care about people. This man cares only about himself and acts only in his interest. In the meantime, the appeals committee looked into another complaint related to the criminal case of 5 policemen who abused office, which led to death of civilians. Not a lot of people were present, with the exception of convicts and victims' families. Azyan Duisikhenov, Altyn Kasherov and many others believed until the end that at least 3 men would receive the appropriate penalties, since only 5 of them were brought to justice. 5 years in prison for murder is an unusually lenient penalty. However, Judge Gafur Sharov thought otherwise. The verdict of the Aktau City Court in relation to Zhaldabayev Rinat, Bakhatkaliula Yerlan, Otigaliyev Kapdagali, Baldabayev Begzhan and Izbergenov Nurlan, issued on May 28th, is to be revised. I don't understand it, and I don't want to live in Kazakhstan anymore. Our president Nursultan Nazarbayev tells that we need to develop and give birth to a new generation, which also needs to develop. But what kind of a nation are we if we're exterminating each other? The police forces that were sent from Zhambyl and Taras arrested and beat us while saying that they want to exterminate the descendants of Aday, and I'm one of them. People died here, and it is necessary to bring to justice the mayor of the city, the governor of the region, and the head of Ozenmunaygas. I believe there is no justice and law order in Kazakhstan. These people will not be able to escape the karma. If not them, then their children and grandchildren will pay for their deeds. I believe in this. We have no justice here. The court plans to consider the appeals on Shetpe case on August 2nd, but it is easy to forecast the outcome of this appeal based on the results of two recent trials. In the meantime, the only attorney of convicted Zhanaozen oil workers, Abzal Kuspanov, almost turned into a victim of someone's provocation. The administration of the hotel where he temporarily checked in tried to accuse him of an attempted sexual assault. Fortunately, the issue was resolved, but the incident has obviously left an unpleasant aftertaste for the lawyer.
Experts call the outcome of the appeal process in Aktau expected. Chief editor of Jas Alash newspaper, Respect Sarsinbayev, says the verdict left intact for Shetpe station demonstrators and softened sentences for the police officers who shot at them are not surprising. In his opinion, the court process became a message for other members of the Interior Ministry and security agencies.
It's a hint of sorts for other officers. By carrying out orders of the head of state and senior officials, they can get into such situations but will get off easy. They won't be punished severely. In fact, it will be only pretend punishment, and then a way will be found to save them. This is how I understand it. On May 21st, Aktau court found 11 of the 12 suspects guilty of organizing and taking part in disorders at the Shetpe train station. 5 men were given prison terms of 4 to 7 years and 6 were pardoned. 5 police officers were sentenced to 5 to 7 years, with confiscation of property later overruled by the second-level court. Independent journalist Sergei Duvanov believes this step is only logical and adds that prison conditions for the former policeman will be quite different from other people as well. The sentenced policemen are just scapegoats whom the authorities were forced to have found guilty, but I believe it's not as severe as anyone thought it would be, and they will finish serving their term much sooner than strikers and rioters. Moreover, I think that their prison terms and conditions will not be as strict and severe as for the rest.
A police officer in Almaty shot and killed an intoxicated man in the head while defending himself, report news agencies. It was later revealed the murdered man was a retired colonel, head of a private security company, and member of the Party of Patriots, Daurian Azimbayev. According to the Department of Internal Affairs, late July 18th, while in a state of intoxication, Azimbayev attacked a man who was taking a stroll in the square with his 5-month-old child. The baby's father managed to escape, after which he called the police patrol.
Upon arrival at the scene, policemen attempted to arrest the hooligan who resisted their actions by punching one of the officers in the face and attacking another with a knife. The fight continued on the ground when the policeman accidentally shot Azimbayev in the head. Both men were taken to the hospital where Azimbayev died the next day. Colleagues of the party member now question whether the police had the right to use firearms in the situation. My friend was killed, the most merited man, true patriot of Kazakhstan, retired colonel, athlete, master of sports in judo and unarmed combat, and the head of public fund, which dealt with the issues of city security, Daurian Azimbayev. A criminal case was initiated under Article 257, Part 1 on disorderly conduct. A separate case for attempting murder of policemen has been also set up under Article 96, Part A. At the moment, the Almaty DIA and district prosecutors are investigating the accident, which involved the use of firearms by policemen.
Meanwhile, a real movement in support of border guard Vladislav Chelokh unfolded on the internet. Those who are not indifferent to the fate of the young soldier are collecting money to provide material support for the private's mother, Svetlana Vashenka. Her stay in Almaty, waiting for expert examination results, is getting too expensive for the temporarily unemployed woman.
Ekaterina Bakuyeva was one of the first to respond to the call for help. She's a moderator of a social network group created to support Vlad. The woman is constantly updating news about the soldier and calls on to others to assist the border guard's family. Bakuyeva is confident that there are kind people in the world who can do so. I feel bad for these people just as human being. I want to help at least with the family's accommodation, or if anyone wants to help with the money. It's all simple. Our group is not asking for anything extraordinary. Svetlana Vashchenko came to Astana from Karaganda with her one-year-old son Pavel. The boy, not accustomed to the sudden weather conditions, fell sick. The lost money was spent on medicine. It is hardly enough to pay for the apartment rent, which is about $30 per day. The accommodation and transportation costs come first. We're often told to come here, but this always costs extra money.
Astana shareholders demonstrated in front of the Kazakhstan government building on Friday. They demanded a meeting with Deputy Prime Minister Serik Akhmetov. However, he was not found at his workplace. His aides said the first deputy was on vacation. The next report covers the shareholders' demands and the officials' reaction.
On Friday, the gathering of about 60 outraged shareholders demanding to meet with Deputy Prime Minister Serik Akhmetov caused a real stir. The reason was the notorious decree from April 1st, 2010, which says that interest holders are entitled to only one apartment each in the blocks constructed by the state. But before the crisis, quite a few people paid for more than one property. What is he going to say? He defends the so-called poor who receive 600,000, while we are apparently rich receiving 25,000. We're being ripped off. Deputies had to cover up with their superiors on Friday. Nikolai Tikhanyuk, the deputy chairman of the Housing and Commodity Amenities Department, tried to explain that real estate investors are currently divided into 4 categories and that housing will be distributed among the socially vulnerable families first. The vast majority of the gathered people doesn't fall under this category and hence the frustration. The officials prefer not to talk about how the government used to encourage people to participate in mortgage programs. 28,000 people are happy and they don't question anything. The issue with 400 people and 67 of them are here. Are we supposed to pay more money to the city to build more housing? I don't think so. Serik Kazhanyazov, a representative of the Regional Development Department, talked to people next. He was luckier than Tikhanyuk, only subjected to an apparent sociology test. Should there be social equality? If it's budget money allocated by the government, why one person gets 240 square meters of housing while others only 40? I agree, there should be social equality. Then why the situation with the city administration? Well, this is the time for the city administration to tell the truth. Astana interest holders spent more than an hour outside the cabinet headquarters, the police observed the picket but didn't intervene. Perhaps people will be compensated, but it's very unlikely they will receive additional housing. This assumption was cautiously expressed by officials. The parliament, which could have resolved the issue, will be back from vacation only in fall, but even the MPs will be guided by the president's directive of one apartment per individual.
The agricultural yield in Kazakhstan will be diverse this year due to the climate. If in some regions there was heavy rain, others experienced dry weather. The information was provided by the Agriculture Minister Asaljan Mamedbekov at an agricultural fair on Friday.
Some regions, particularly the Kostanay area, has very problematic areas. We will review this issue and visit the sites. We will consider necessary steps by the government to assist our farmers who were affected by the weather conditions.
News, it was revealed on Friday, Uzbekistan has unilaterally closed its border with Kyrgyzstan. Official Tashkent says the decision was motivated by the armed incident near the state border.
According to Uzbek secret services, this was an armed attack by Kyrgyzstan's border guards. In its turn, Kyrgyz Security Committee calls Uzbekistan to refrain from groundless statements and offered to launch a joint investigation into the matter. Several people were killed in a shooting incident involving border guards of the two states. The emergency was reported 3 days ago at the Alabuka district of the Jalabad region. According to Kyrgyz law enforcement agencies, the armed conflict was provoked by Uzbek border guards who opened fire at civilians while on the territory of Kyrgyzstan, which prompted retaliation on the part of Kyrgyz border guards. At the moment, only the transit cargo is allowed to cross the border. We believe the statement made by the Border Protection Committee of Uzbekistan and published on the website 12.uz contradicts the agreement reached by the heads of border protection agencies of Kyrgyzstan and Uzbekistan. The July 11th agreement mentioned a joint investigation of the incident and detailed examination of its causes. That is why we believe that it wasn't appropriate to make such statements without investigation, an examination of all causes and facts. Member of European Parliament Struan Stevenson commented on the situation with the closing of the Uzbek-Kyrgyz border. The politician asserts that people of the two countries suffer from the actions of the Uzbek government and are deprived of their right to travel and to communicate with their families. The MEP believes that the matter has something to do with Uzbekistan's withdrawal from the Collective Security Treaty Organization.
Now this whole situation could be changed, and I think that's very regrettable. You know, the Uzbeks closed their border with Tajikistan some time ago, and this has caused great problems in the area. I think really we need to get all the presidents together, and they need to come to some understanding. The way forward is in friendship and peace, not in closing borders.
Pavlodar is preparing for Nursultan Nazarbayev and Vladimir Putin's visit. The arrival of the two presidents is expected within the framework of the 9th Kazakh-Russian Interregional Forum. The meeting will be held in September.
The last time the leaders of two countries met was in the fall of 2011 in Astrakhan to discuss the issues of integration within the customs union of Belarus, Kazakhstan and Russia. In 2010, a similar event was held in Ust-Kamenogorsk, Kazakhstan. This time, Pavlodar was selected as the place for the meeting. Construction and repair works are currently underway in the administrative center, with local authorities doing their best to make everything look good for distinguished guests. Here we need to replace the small with a big flower. Big and small petunias, marigolds and cypresses will beautify the streets of Pavlodar by September. Natalia Chepushtanova, the chief florist, is supervising the landscaping plan. There are still 20,000 square meters to be processed and planted out. Natalia says that there is plenty of work because this fall the flowers need to grow and blossom in deserted places. This year's flowers will be planted not only in usual places but also in new sites, parks and streets. For instance, we have new flower beds in the Usolsk micro-district. We hope that our flower beds will please residents of the city because we try to make them look fresh, interesting and varied. This is one of the main streets of Pavlodar. It is currently under repair works with new asphalt laid almost throughout the entire city. The simultaneous repairs have led to frequent jams despite all efforts of the traffic police. It's chaos. It shouldn't be like that. The traffic police doesn't do anything good. It's much easier with the traffic lights. The road repairs are for the best of the city. I believe it's normal. Tired of the traffic jam. I'm late already, but what can I do? All this rush is due to the 9th Forum for cross-border cooperation between Kazakhstan and Russia, which will take place in September. This year will be the first for two states after joining the customs union. Both presidents will arrive in Pavlodar with their entourages of more than 1,000 delegates. Over $36 million were allocated from the state reserve for the event, with about 70% spent on city repairs, installation of lights and replacement of traffic lights. We've never had this much improvement works on such a large scale, even in Soviet times. The authorities request local residents to bear some inconveniences, promising that the city life will be back to normal within a month.
The religious administration of Muslims of Kazakhstan expressed condolences over the death of Deputy Head of Tatarstan Muftiate, Valiullah Yakupov, and attempted murder of the Chief Mufti of the Republic, Ildus Faizov. An unidentified person shot 48-year-old Yakupov on the eve of the holy month of Ramadan on July 19th when he came out of the entrance of his house and was heading towards his car. He died as a result of inflicted wounds. Faizov was wounded as a result of a car explosion. Tatarstan police detained 5 suspects, including 1 citizen of Uzbekistan. The investigation is currently working on 2 leads: conflict with the radical Islamists and financial disputes with the organization Idel Hajj, which was working on organizing pilgrimage of Russian Muslims to Mecca.
On behalf of the religious administration of Kazakhstan's Muslims, all believers of our country and myself personally, I send the President and all the people of Tatarstan our sincere condolences due to untimely and tragic death of Waliullah Hazrat Yakupov, the deputy head of Tatarstan Chief Mufti, who became an innocent victim of an evil plot. The news about the untimely passing of our brother in faith was regarded by us with sincere sorrow. The Muslims of Kazakhstan share the pain of this loss and express condolences to the family and friends of the late and to all the people of Tatarstan.
The first day of the holy month of Ramadan coincided with the traditional Friday prayer. Many believers noted the coincidence. The chief imam of the Astana's Hazrat Sultan Mosque thanked the nation's leader for the construction of the new mosque and asked the entire congregation to express gratitude to Nursultan Nazarbayev.
5,000 believers in Almaty are praying for the president on the first night of the holy month of Ramadan. People inside Hazrat Sultan Mosque wished well to the president and the nation. This year, Kazakhs are celebrating one of the most important religious holidays in the largest mosque of Central Asia, all thanks to Nursultan Nazarbayev, says the imam. Representatives of the secular authorities have congratulated Muslims as well. Chief of Religion Department Kairat Lama Sharif agreed with the President's manifesto, 20 Steps to the Society of Shared Labor. He says the ideas of the Great Lent during Ramadan are compliant with the goals of the nation's leader set for the population. Quran spells out clear steps for the believers to achieve spirituality and do good deeds. The strict Lent or Raza should be kept for 30 days. People should not eat and drink from sunrise to sunset, spending time in prayers. Everyone should also make donations called sadaqah. Believers in Almaty also chose the occasion to pronounce their wishes for the president and the people. Let Allah send prosperity, health to Yelbasi and Absatar. Let Allah save Kazakhstanis as well. Friday and Ramadan are the holiest days for Muslims, and today they fell on the same day. I've been keeping Oraza for the third year now. This Lent cleans the soul, brings calmness and content. Today many young people started to believe in Islam, which I believe is a good sign. On Ramadan, I wish everyone prosperity. Baurjan Nurakhanov came to the Friday prayer with friends. Just several years earlier, they were making fun of him, but now they are reading prayer 5 times a day themselves. Allah is always accommodating, the young man expressed his happiness, but his joy is saddened by the recent incident with a religious connotation. Baurjan explains for many people Islam is always linked to terrorism. The man wants everyone to know this is not true, and just like the Almaty Imam, he wants all Muslims to be proud of who they are. Let Allah be with the leader of the nation, Chief Imam, those who are serving the state, our brothers and sisters. Let Allah save us from natural disasters. Our people should be safe and protected.
Ex-chair of Ruhaniyat political party congratulated all believers with the start of the holy month of Ramadan in his video address on YouTube. After the official part, the former Green Party member made an apology addressed to the current head of the party.
I want to sincerely apologize to a lady who is much older than me, civil activist Altynshar Jaganova, for some comments about her that I left on a social network.
The Uralsk court satisfied the petition of the head of the Internal Policies Administration of the West Kazakhstan region, Tlek Kabylymashev, to journalist Lukman Akhmedyarov and newspaper Uralskaya Nedelya. According to the ruling, defendants must pay a little over $30,000 for the moral damage caused by the article Brother, Matchmaker and a Drag, which was published on March 2nd.
Interestingly, Tlek Kabylymashev has previously estimated moral damages as slightly over $60,000. To the surprise of the defense, the officials had to resort to hospitalization on the next day after the publication of the article due to endured stress. We found out that he checked in the hospital on March 3rd, while the article was published on March 2nd. That's less than a day for him to go through all of this moral suffering and end up in a hospital.
Pavlodar City Court partially satisfied the petition of the mother of Mark Frolov, who died due to the fault of the doctors. The court decided that medical workers must pay a little over $13,000 to the mother of the boy. The amount is 12 times less that was initially demanded.
As per court ruling, the compensation for moral and physical damages will be paid by the administration of Children's Anti-Tuberculosis Health Resort. The health department, which acted as defendant in the case, came off clear. However, the family is dissatisfied with the decision and plans to appeal it. In any case, we will appeal the ruling because we disagree with the compensation amount. The criminal punishment was avoided, so there should be an appropriate financial penalty. It will serve as a lesson which will force others to check people's professionalism before hiring them and make sure that everyone understands their responsibility at work.
And finally, in medical news, unique gynecological surgeries will now be conducted in Almaty. Specialists of the Maternity Hospital No. 2 have introduced high-tech surgical methods of treating infertility.
A whole range of surgical procedures can be performed in the operation room with the help of laparoscopy. Experts believe that this unique surgery will help preserve the woman's health and her reproductive functions. The procedure is available to the public for free of charge under the Maternal and Child Health Program. These types of surgeries have the advantage of not involving incisions due to insertion of the endoscopic equipment into the body and projection of the information on the display. Doctors conduct the surgery by looking at the screen.
This is all we have time for now. Thank you for watching and have a great weekend.